Well, welcome to the webinar, everyone. Another Wednesday, another Lunch and Learn. What we're going to talk about today is how to lose fat and gain muscle, and more importantly, why that is so important. And if you don't understand what that concept means right now, don't worry, I'm going to explain it to you. And I'm going to give you some simple to understand procedures, if you will, to make sure that your body is in fat loss mode, not just in weight loss mode. Because what you're going to see is weight loss isn't necessarily the most healthy thing in the world. So let's jump in. First and foremost, you have this picture. We're still in that first month of the year, but had you gone to the local gym on December 31st, you see the picture in the upper left-hand corner, and by January 1st, it looks like the bottom right. What's interesting is, we're now in the third week of January, and good chances are by the first week in February, most gyms will start looking like the one in the upper left-hand corner because people have started these weight loss journeys. They've looked down at the scale, and sure enough, it hasn't moved. So apparently, gym is not the answer. And really, the answer is the way that you are using the gym is not the right answer. But most people don't understand that true fat loss, muscle gain starts in their kitchen, not at the gym. In fact, most people get into this vicious diet cycle, and it is one that is repeated over and over and over again. It's why more than 95% of diets fail. In essence, they go into this calorie counting deprivation phase where they basically starve the body or try to decrease calorie consumption. That creates a famine response. In other words, the body goes into a catabolic stage where it's preserving fat and trying to hold on and survive. That is going to increase cravings and things of that nature, which is going to result in a feast response, which then gets you back to the weight that you were plus some, and of course we're right back to the diet cycle. I'll just explain to you what happens to most people in the month of January, year after year after year. In fact, most people will tell you this is what the typical diet cycle looks like from them. This is the before, the after, and the after. In other words, they've lost it and they gained it back plus some. And what we're going to do today is we're going to learn why that is. First and foremost, you need to understand this. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It's amazing how many people every single year are going to follow a diet. And they pick a different one every year. Maybe this year I'm going to try Atkins, or next year I'm going to try South Beach, or this year I'm going to try the lemonade and chili powder diet. I mean, they're out there, they're everywhere. Every diet should have some form of warning sign on it. The reality is we can't keep doing the same thing over and over expecting a different result. And in fact, most of us are just kind of the hamsters on the wheel. We just basically are running in place. We're not really getting the benefit of what it is we're trying to accomplish, because the reality is what we believe to be true, what we have been told to be true, most importantly, what we just know for a fact is the way to get to the result we want, actually isn't the way at all. In fact, I'm going to explain to you the typical diet cycle so that you can understand it. And what's interesting is every time I've done this for folks, there's kind of a light bulb that goes off to understanding why diets don't work and why we need to focus on fat loss, muscle gain, and long-term health as opposed to short-term result. And that's what this whole presentation is about, is long-term health as opposed to that short-term result that a lot of people are looking for. See, you have this thing called your BMR baseline. That's your basal metabolic rate. That is how much calorie you are going to burn in a day if all you did is laid in bed all day long and just existed, just survived. So you have this BMR that is your baseline. That is going to establish the amount of calories that you are going to burn every day if you do nothing. As we begin to lose weight and we start these diet cycles, what happens is not only do we begin to lose weight, but our BMR also drops. So let that sit in. Yes, your metabolic rate will drop with your weight loss. And the reason why is because weight loss means you are losing lean muscle mass at the same time you are losing fat and water weight. So as a result, your metabolism is dropping and it will come down. But when we decide, we've hit our goal, or we're done with this program, I can't calorie restrict anymore, we start on the weight gain program. You notice our BMR is down there where we got to. We are at day 1. The interesting thing is by day 90, we are back to the weight that we were. So again, a 90-day program, it takes us about 90 days to put that weight back on. But you notice that basal metabolic rate is still down below the line, out down there where we were when we hit our goal, because it takes roughly 120 days for that BMR baseline to catch up to where we are now. So in essence, when you say, hey, I've lost, this weight and I've gone down and then I gained it plus some back, the reality is what has happened is your metabolic rate did not have an opportunity to get back to where it was before you had regained all of the weight plus some in addition to what you've lost. I've now explained to you why that happens. I've now explained to you what's going on. And most importantly, I've explained to you why weight loss goals end up in the loss of not only fat, but also water and muscle. So, you ever heard anyone say this, or maybe you've said this yourself? I've lost the same 30 pounds 3 times. Or, fill in the blank, how many pounds and how many times. The reality is that's not even true. And that's the scary part. See, the CDC says that you will lose roughly about 3.2 years of your life expectancy if you continuously yo-yo diet. It puts the body's organs and tissues into great havoc and causes all kinds of problems. And the reality is it is better if you are going to yo-yo diet to just stay the way you are, according to the records of the CDC, because at least that way you don't lose that 3.2 years. But to understand why weight loss doesn't work and why we need to focus on fat loss, muscle gain, you need to understand this concept. Because see, when you started to lose that 30 pounds the first time, you lost fat and lean muscle. When you put it back on, you put back on the fat. When you lost it the second time, you lost fat and lean muscle. When you put it back on, you just put on the fat. So you notice every time down, you are losing fat and lean muscle, and every time up, all you're doing is adding to the fat component. So no, you have not lost the same 30 pounds every time. In fact, what you have done every time is added more fat to the body and lost a substantial amount of lean muscle in the process. Now, how are we going to break this? How are we going to change our habits? How are we going to actually accomplish our long-term goals? How are we going to effectively change our health and not try to get to a short-term result? Well, I tell everyone all the time that ID Life and businesses like ID Life should not be in the body modification business. We are in the behavior modification business, which means we have to change habits. Because if you don't change your eating habits and you go on some form of diet, you will revert back to your old habit. It's just a fact. In fact, here's what you need to understand. This breakdown right here will give you an understanding of why that is so true. See, it takes roughly 3 weeks to break an old habit. So if you have a habit right now of, drinking nothing but Coke every day, okay, and we can all agree that if all I drank was Coke all day, not necessarily the best habit for my long-term health. So that's a habit I want to break. Well, you know what? It's going to take me roughly 3 weeks to break that habit. It's going to take me roughly 6 weeks to develop a new habit. So say I want to substitute that with water every day. Well, you know what? That's going to take me roughly about 6 weeks to make that habit, new into my system, where this is something that I'm going to do. But here is the kicker. And here's the thing you need to understand. It takes 36 weeks to hardwire that new habit. So let that set in for just a second. Think about every time you have tried to, quote unquote, lose weight or get healthy or change a habit that you currently have. It's going to take you 3 weeks to drop the old habit, 6 weeks to develop the new habit, and 36 weeks to make that thing permanent. How many people do you know that have actually stuck with something for 9 months? See, our habits are ingrained. A lot of these are things that we learned when we were children. That's why we do so many trainings for parents on nutrition with regard to their kids, is because we are literally teaching our children nutritional habits that they are going to carry with them for the rest of their life. And the reason why we know that is because not many kids, nor adults as far as that go, can stick with something for 9 months to change or reprogram that habit. In this particular case, because we're talking about fat loss or healthy fat loss, you need to understand that if you are going to start down this journey, this is a journey that is going to be a long journey. This is not something that is going to happen overnight. It is not something you're just going to be able to say, hey, I'm going to do this for 60 or 90 days and get what I'm looking for. No, this is something you're going to have to commit to. In fact, if you want to change your habits, which is going to permanently change your health, you're going to have to commit to it for a minimum of 9 months. So in other words, this is not a rabbit race. This is more of the tortoise race. You know, it's the old rabbit versus the hare type concept. Slow is the answer. You need to take it simple. Just keep it simple. Follow that KISS rule. You know, keep it simple. The whole idea behind what we're going to do is this. We're going to teach you that it's okay not to be perfect. In fact, the issue is there are no perfect people. You are going to fail. You are going to fall back. You are going to have those days that just are a bad day. And you know what? You may eat some things that aren't necessarily on your quote-unquote good list. First thing you need to get out of your head is there's no such thing as good foods and bad foods. What there are is foods that have a better metabolic effect on your body than others. That's it. But hey, you know what? You have cravings, you have desires, you have things that you want to live, and it's okay. Instead of trying to be perfect, where one slip up means that is a failure in your mind, instead, let's follow the 80-20 principle. If I know I do things right 80% of the time and I live 20% of the time, guess what? You're still going to be in a much better place than you are currently. So don't beat yourself up. Let's keep this super simple. You know, what's interesting to me is you have a lot of people out there that it has taken years to get to the weight that they currently are sitting at. I, at one point in my life, was almost 307 pounds. What's interesting, I was also, at one point in my life, a college athlete at 8% body fat. And 10 years had passed for me to go from an 8% body fat athlete to a 307-pound attorney sitting behind a desk. And what's interesting is I looked in the mirror every single day and never saw that person until I got back from a vacation with a family and I saw a picture of me and Goofy, and I was bigger than Goofy. But what's more interesting is I knew how long it took me to get there, yet when I started my journey of trying to manage my weight, what I wanted was I wanted a result yesterday. It took me 10 years to get to where I was, and I wanted the result in a day, and I knew it was not going to be that easy. In fact, a lot of people hear all the time, well, a pound a week or 4 pounds a month is healthy, and they can't grasp the fact that a pound a week is healthy is a healthy way to basically lose fat and gain muscle. They just can't get that into their head. This visual gives you an understanding. See, with every pound, you're losing the equivalent of a softball, or 29 cubic inches on your body of fat. Every month, if you lose 4 pounds, that's 1 pound a week. Guess what? You are losing the equivalent of 116 cubic inches of fat or a basketball. This is substantial. A number is a number. Guess what? I mean, this is not, a get skinny quick system. It's not at all. What I want to do is tell you what is happening to your body. If you lose 2 pounds in a month, you know what? That's amazing. You've lost 2 softballs of fat off your body. That is absolutely amazing, and you need to reward yourself and celebrate that, and stop beating yourself up when you say, man, I'm only losing half a pound a week, or I've only lost a pound this month. A pound is substantial, and now you can see how substantial that really is. In fact, the reason why we say that you want to lose fat, gain muscle can be summed up in this right here. This visual right here explains it. 1 pound of lean muscle will burn 7 to 10 calories a day. 1 pound of fat will only burn 2 to 3 calories a day. So see, what happens when we have a lot of fat on our body is our metabolism is slower. Because guess what? Because we have so much of that, it's not burning as much calorie per day. But when we have more lean muscle on our body, guess what? That is going to increase our metabolism or burn the fire faster and longer and harder, which is going to allow us to burn more calories and get us to the healthy weight that we want. So ultimately, what we are trying to do is lose the fat, gain the muscle. Not only are we going to feel better in our clothes, we are also going to increase our metabolism and increase the time decrease the time it's going to take us to get to our results. So when we talk here in a second about how some people don't do this, you're going to better understand why. So for instance, less than 50% of Americans eat breakfast every day. Well, if I told you that you were more than 60% greater at risk of having a heart attack if you skip breakfast, or I told you that 80% of the people in this country that are overweight are people that don't eat breakfast every day, those two stats alone should be enough to get you to break the fast, that's where breakfast comes from, and get going in the morning. But the biggest issue is this: your body is at a catabolic phase in the morning. In other words, you did not eat or drink while you were sleeping. And if you did, you might want to get some professional help, because that means you're sleepwalking and eating and drinking. But your body's catabolic, which means it has to fuel itself. And if it doesn't have a complex carbohydrate in the body so that it can fuel what's going on during the day or in the morning, guess what? It is going to do the secondary thing to get fuel for the body, which is it's going to convert tissue to energy. The simplest tissue to convert to energy is lean muscle mass. So what happens when we skip breakfast, and hey, it's a slow process, is we are fueling our mornings with our lean muscle mass. Now remember what we said: lean muscle mass burning 7 to 10 calories a day, fat burning 2 to 3 calories a day. Why would we want to burn our lean muscle mass or use that as fuel and basically bring our metabolism down over a period of time? It doesn't make sense. Simple nutritional science would say, hey, eat your breakfast. 1/3 of Americans' primary source of hydration comes from sugary beverages. This is your fruit juices, this is your sports drinks full of sugar, and of course your sodas and soft drinks. 1/3, that is the primary source of hydration. Simple thing to remember when you're trying to lose fat and gain muscle: don't drink your calories. It really is that simple. Drink your water. A lot of people say all the time, well, I just don't like the taste of water. And the reality is water has no taste, which is why you don't like it. But the idea is the body needs water. It needs to have that source of hydration. And what we need to do is stop trying to think that we're hydrating our body with all of these sugary beverages that are doing nothing but inhibiting our fat loss, muscle gain cycle, but more importantly, causing our body to go into a constant state of havoc and inflammation when the average American now is consuming more than 30 servings of sugar a day. And then, of course, this one right here: 74% of Americans get inadequate sleep, exponentially increasing risks of heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and depression. In reality, sleep or lack of sleep has been linked to the #1 cause of disease in this country. And that is something that is unique to humans, because we are the only mammals on the planet that intentionally inhibit sleep cycles, usually because of something we refer to as our #1 excuse, which is time. Now, I will tell you that another thing that is inhibiting our sleep cycle is something called blue light. You can find those on your computer screens, your phone screens, and the TVs that we have in our bedroom, and what those things are doing to our natural production of melatonin hormone in our body. But that's a different lunch and learn, but you do need to understand what that means. The reality is, a healthy breakfast, more water in our system, and the right amount of sleep, guess what? We will be much happier, much healthier. It will put us on the right path that we're trying to accomplish with regard to losing fat and gaining muscle. The thing about breakfast is, hey, we're going to give the body the fuel it needs so that we can preserve the lean muscle mass that we have. Drinking more water, guess what? That's going to keep us properly hydrated so the body's organs, tissues, and functions can work the way they were designed. And sleep is going to allow us to repair, restore, and rejuvenate the body so that it can get back into its natural energy phase and we can rebuild our natural circadian rhythm. This is probably the easiest of visuals for somebody who is on the fat loss muscle gain program. See, the typical program involves, not eating when you go to the gym, even though your trainer and everyone else told you to. Fueling your workout with lean muscle, fat, and water. And basically, being happy that you have lost weight because you spent 45 minutes on a treadmill. What you don't realize, though, is in the process of following that cycle that we follow every single year, what we have done is we have decided that we want to lose lean muscle, water, and fat along the way. As opposed to properly eating before our workout so we have the right fuel, focusing on losing just the fat and gaining muscle and rehydrating the body, and understand, hey, when we jumped on that treadmill for 45 minutes and we go and weigh ourselves before and after, and we're 3 pounds down, we haven't really lost 3 pounds. What we've done is depleted the body of a lot of hydration and electrolytes, and we need to replenish those so that the body can repair, restore, build the lean muscle that we're looking for, but most importantly, continue to be a fat burning engine, or continue to burn the fat and get the result of what it is we're trying to accomplish. So that's what today's all about. So the reality is this: we should not be thinking fat loss. We should be thinking fat loss, not weight loss. Weight loss is not the true measure of health. Body fat percentage is the true measure of health. And that's what you need to understand. Right here is a picture of two people that are 175 pounds. Both of them weigh the same thing. One is at 20% body fat, the other at 35% body fat. Which one do you want to look like? See, most people want the sprinter's body. They want to look, healthy. They want to have that body fat percentage that puts them into the right category so that they may be carrying a particular weight. Remember, weight is nothing more than a unit of measure. It's not a definition of who you are. But body fat percentage will determine how much visceral fat you have around your organs, tissues, and systems, and it'll determine what your true health factor is in your measurement of long-term health. More importantly, it will allow you to feel much better in your clothes, have more energy, and accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish with your life. So when we're talking about having people focus on the right things, don't focus on the scale number. That's not where you want to focus. The idea is, how do you fit into your clothes? So when you start on this journey and you're going to start down this path, no, the first 30 days, you may not lose a pound. And I want that to set in. You may not lose a pound, but guess what? It is okay, because you very well may be losing inches. Because remember, the difference between fat and the difference between muscle can be summed up in the size of a fist. Because 1 pound of fat is roughly 2 fists put together. 1 pound of muscle is roughly the size of 1 fist. It is a density issue, not a weight issue. A pound is a pound. Muscle does not weigh more than fat. What muscle does do better than fat, though, is it burns almost 3x the amount of calories per day. So we want to put more of it on our body so that we can have clothes that fit like what you see in this picture. So, super top secret. This is going to blow your mind with regard to how to lose fat, gain muscle. This is the end all be all. All these diet books out there. Billions of dollars sent for programs and systems every year. And the reality is, there is a simple secret that no one seems to want to talk about, and it's this: if you will simply take half your plate every time that you get ready to eat a meal and make it colorful. That's right, fruits and vegetables. 75% of us do not eat our fruits and vegetables every day. But the reality is, if we would take half our plate and fill it with fruits and vegetables, you choose, you pick. The reality is, we're not eating any of them now, so eat your favorites. It really doesn't matter. But if half your plate is fruits and vegetables, then you know what? You can put whatever you want on the other half of the plate, and you will start seeing some results like you've never seen before. The body will react to that simple diet. And I know this is an oversimplification, and I know I'll get a lot of messages on, oh, you're making this sound too easy. But the reality is this: try it for 30 days. What do you got to lose? We're not trying to sell you a book. We're not trying to sell you a program. We're not trying to sell you anything. What if for 30 days what you did is you took half your plate, filled it with fruits and vegetables, and the other half you ate what you wanted to? Pick and choose what that's going to look like. What would happen if you actually started to lose fat, gain muscle, because of the simple modification of turning half your plate into something colorful? For some of you, this is going to be hard. Right now I know for a fact my wife, sees all these greens on this plate and probably is having the gag reflex immediately because she's a meat and potato girl. But the reality is, honey, I love you. But if we would do this, you would see an immediate result in how your body is reacting to things. The main focus of what these lunch and learns are about is to give you information. so that you can make an informed choice. Is it going to change everybody immediately? No. Is it going to allow you, when you're sitting down at dinner and you see your plate and half of it's not colorful, to think about, man, what would happen if I just tried that? What if I just tried it for a week? Well, 30 days is a long time, Mark. What if I just tried that for 7 days? What would that do? Here's the thing. Try it. Try it and then comment. Send us some information. Tell us what your results were. Tell us how your body reacted to simply making that little change in your diet and lifestyle, and tell us, what the result was for you. We believe that your diet and lifestyle choices create your nutritional gaps, and that if we can continue to help you with those diet and lifestyle choices, those nutritional gaps will be depleted, and you will need much less and less nutritional supplementation. But the reality is, with our food supply the way that it is, we are always going to have nutritional gaps that we are going to have to fill. The reality of what we're trying to do in today's Lunch and Learn is to simply provide you some information so that you can start getting the results that you're looking for by focusing on the right things and understand how things work together in your body, and more importantly, how they work metabolically, and how you could be fighting your own body if you were trying to go on a weight loss program.